Good afternoon, everyone. We're very excited to be having a Digital Learning Day debate. We've got high school students from across California who are excited to debate a resolution today that is very appropriate for Digital Learning Day. We're going to be talking about social media, the pros and cons, and what it's doing to our social skills. We're very excited to have two amazing high schools with us for this debate. We've got Dinuba High School and Locke High School, and the students will be debating both sides of this resolution for you today. Before we begin, we'd like to have them both introduce themselves. We're first going to introduce the affirmative team, and they are from Dinuba High School, and they are led by Miss Weber. So if we can have each of you just say your name and your grade level.
My name is Anissa Ramirez, and I'm a senior from Dinuba High School.
My name is Ashlyn Navarro, and I am also a senior.
My name is Desiree Rodriguez, and I'm also a senior.
My name is Samuel Lopez, and I am a junior.
Excellent, thank you. And now the negative team is going to be from Locke High School, and they're led by Miss Hicks. And let's have each of you introduce yourselves, your name, and your grade level.
My name is Edwin Diaz, and I'm a junior.
My name is Yvonne Kamara, and I'm a junior. My name is Nelly Isidoro, and I am a junior.
My name is Stephanie Ariola, and I am a junior.
Thank you so much. And I am Nicole. I am a researcher at UCLA's Graduate School of Education and a former high school English teacher and debate coach. So I'm very excited to be having this debate, and I'm excited that we're doing it online using the tool of Google Hangouts. We're hoping that this will inspire other teachers and other educators around the country to think about the ways they can use digital media to help students get engaged in amazing learning opportunities like this and talk about important issues of the day. So we're going to do a little bit of a modified debate format. The affirmative team is going to be arguing in favor of the following resolution. That is resolved, social media is destroying our social skills. So throughout the debate, Dinuba High School is going to be arguing that social media is indeed hurting our social skills. And the job of Locke High School is to be the negative team and argue that social media is not destroying our social skills. Both teams have done a lot of work preparing for this debate. They've gathered evidence, they've thought about their own personal experiences, and they're excited to share what they've learned and really get into a little bit of a back and forth so that we can share some different perspectives. So the way that debate works is that we start with our constructive speeches, where each team gets to lay out their argument and all of the evidence that they want to use. And then we'll get into some cross-examinations. So I'll be your moderator for today and leading us through this entire format of debate. So what we're going to do now is start with our first affirmative constructive speaker. And the job here is to lay out the affirmative case in 4 minutes or less, and I will be keeping time for you as you go. So affirmative team, whenever you're ready, and negative team, you're ready to take notes.
Just woke up, eating some cereal, about to mow the lawn, and then walk the dog. Hashtag Saturdays. We've all seen it before. The couple who constantly breaks up and gets back together again. What your weekend consisted of, and the food posts. We have all been guilty of this social media splurge at one point or another. But over the past few years, there has been a rapid change in online behavior, more specifically on social media. Our society has become a paradox. With so much social technology, we are more connected and disconnected than ever before. Our society is becoming less social due to the possible addiction and decreased face-to-face communication. How many times a day do you check your social media account? 2, 3, 30? According to a study conducted in 2010 by the University of Maryland, about 20% of users cannot last more than a few hours. The average American spends 6 hours browsing on social media sites. When do these 6 hours accumulate? Breakfast, lunch, breaks in between daunting tasks, and while you are supposed to be sleeping, all in an attempt to receive the satisfaction of knowing you are liked. CBS News reports that your brain rewards itself with dopamine. As explained by Psychology Today, dopamine is a neurotransmitter that helps control the brain's reward and pleasure centers. People with higher levels tend to be more prone to addiction and are often sensation-seeking, risk-taking people. The Maryland study also reports that these sites are designed to draw users back in, and I know from personal experience. I recently deleted my Twitter account, but left the app on my phone's home screen. I found myself selecting the app at least 3 times per day out of habit, only to recall the fact that my account no longer existed. Twitter became what I saw to be an awful habit. I wasn't disappointed in the amount of time I was on the app when I had it, but the inappropriate times I caught myself tweeting. In the car while my mom was driving, and in AP Calculus when I should have been giving my undivided attention. 4 out of 5 students experienced negative side effects if they felt disconnected to technology. The students felt panicked, confused, depressed, and unincluded. Maryland's data proved to be true even for me. In fact, in 2012, Time reported, it's harder for younger adults to quit tweeting than consuming alcohol. With alcohol, users invest their health and money. With social media, users invest their time, which could have been spent otherwise being social out in the real world, actually enjoying the sunny weather on those Saturday mornings while mowing the lawn, or walking your dog in the fresh air. Huffington Post reported that quitting cold turkey may not be an option. According to the National Health Institute, internet addiction disorder causes neurological complications, psychological disturbances, and social problems, which is very relevant to our argument at hand since social media is only an extension of the powers of the internet. Highlighted by New York Times in 2014 was the installation of China's first Internet Addiction Disorder Center of 2004 located in Beijing. One of the biggest issues among these kids is loneliness. So where do they look to for companions? The internet. Similarly, America's first social media rehab center was opened only a few years after, located in Washington, 2009. Patients are admitted based upon the severity and functional status of how the addiction interferes with school, work, and/or social activities. One of the necessary components of social activities is communication. Forbes.com reveals that only 7% of human communication is written or verbal, while the remaining 93% is nonverbal body language. Forbes continues to state that within 5 years, over half of the U.S. employees would feel more comfortable communicating via social media versus good old-fashioned phone calls. Although social media allows us to connect with others thousands of miles away at almost the speed of light, what it fails to do is connect us to what is currently happening.
Time. Perfect. Thank you very much. Negative team, would you like to use any prep time, or are you ready to go right into the cross-examination?
We would like to have prep time, please.
Okay.
30 seconds.
Please.
30 seconds. Got it. Okay, that is 30 seconds. So let's have both teams unmute their speakers. And we're now going to move into 2 minutes of cross-examination, where the negative team is going to get the chance to ask questions of the affirmative team about what they just heard. Okay. Whenever you guys are ready, let's turn both of our microphones on so that we can all hear you. And go ahead, negative team.
Okay. So you said that addiction is common within adolescence and social media. However, how can we blame social media for adolescents' lack of inability to practice self-control, which should be a life skill?
I believe that these life skills and values are lost due to the fact that they are in their own cyber world of social media. In my example, which I stated about the Internet Addiction Disorder Center located in Beijing, their biggest issue is that they do not have companionship, so they look to the internet to solve this issue.
So if they're looking for companionship, which is why social media was created, for communication and relationships across distances, why is that a bad thing? And how can social media be the cause of anxiety when studies have shown that because adolescents are already going through a critical development stage, they tend to show more anxiety and depression. They're more prone to it.
There are multiple nonverbal cues missing within the communication happening over social media. As I stated in my third reason, one necessary component of social activities is communication. When a text is sent reading "I'm fine," unless if there's an emoji added to it to help decipher the mood behind it, the recipient of the text most likely left to be considered what the other end is really communicating.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes. There's, in short, there's a lack of key elements when you do communicate through social media only, such as emotional expression, sincerity, and there's an increased margin for miscommunication.
Okay, that is time. Thank you very much. Negative, we're now going to move into our first negative constructive speech. Do you guys need any prep time, or are you ready to go?
I'm good.
Negative team will have a chance to lay out their case in 4 minutes or less, whenever you are ready.
Okay. When we think about social media, we start summing up its negatives. What studies presented at the American Heart Association convey that most teenagers, 60%, spend an average of 20 hours per week in front of television screens. We cannot ignore the fact that social media is actually forcing these teenagers to communicate. Social media is any website or application that enables users to create and share content or to participate in networking communication. It is through social media that websites like Amber Alert have rescued more than 650 children, according to the CNN News. Social media also favors the shy students who feel uncomfortable speaking out loud. As the daily report in the California Watch conveys that when kids feel connected, they do better at school. When one can argue that social media promotes dishonesty, websites like Turnitin.com have made sure that students are turning in work that is actually theirs, which promotes a social skill of honesty, which can later on be reflected in their lives. Despite all the negative things associated with social media, it is important to remember the impact that social media has had in groups like LGBT. Social media has advocated for equal rights for these groups, and as a result, 13 states have legalized LGBT rights. An article about social media and the LGBT community conveys that roughly 49 to 58% of the U.S. population support same-sex marriage. There has been a merge between LGBT and social media. This portrays the way social media is letting people express themselves and get support from other people who share the same burdens. It is through social media that the It Gets Better project was conveyed. This was the second most successful campaign which advocated for teens who were bullied because of their sexual orientation. It is through social media that over 50,000 more videos were uploaded, including President Barack Obama. Based on this evidence, one can infer that social media is bringing out the best in teenagers because they get the chance to express their beliefs and they can get support from people worldwide. In an article, Connected Learning, the author conveys that online communication depends more on the power of ideas than on the things that matter in face-to-face communication. This quote is relevant because teenagers can easily voice their opinions without worrying about what people will think about their appearance. In a survey of more than 1,000 13 to 17-year-olds about how they view digital lives, 28% said that social networking made them feel more outgoing than the 5% who said it made them feel less of so. This portrays the way social networking is helping teens build on their social skills while still having fun. Teens can now manage their health online. They can learn about their bodies in organizations like Planned Parenthood, which gives students the information they need to know about their body. Also, in an article about social media marketing, the author conveys that anti-smoking groups call for teenagers to join social movements that are against tobacco. This portrays that social media is actually forcing the teens to know the dangers of using drugs, and it is not making them use the drugs.
Excellent, thank you, negative team. We're about to move into our next cross-examination, where the affirmative team will get to ask the negative team questions about what they just said. Affirmative team, do you need any prep time before you begin?
Yes. 1 minute, please.
1 minute? Sure. All right, that's 1 minute. So now we will have 2 minutes for the affirmative team to cross-examine the negative team. Whenever you are ready, you can get started. And everybody can turn their mics on.
Can you tell me what percentage of our population uses social media today?
Could you repeat that?
Can you tell me what percentage of our population uses social media today?
About 75% of the population uses media today.
Okay, and on average, how many of hours are spent on social media?
I said that an average of 60% of teenagers use social media.
And what are your sources?
It was a study conducted at the American Heart Association.
Okay, and of these 60% of teenagers who use social media, on average, how many hours are they spending on social media?
They're spending an average of 20 hours per week in front of television and computer screens.
Okay, television and computer screens?
Yes.
Would television necessarily be social media, though, since it's a televised event, not necessarily networking event?
Can you repeat your question?
Would spending time in front of a television screen necessarily be considered social media because television is televised instead of social networking?
It's still social.
Like the 1980s, right now, people are concerned with social media as they were with television and inappropriate content that was displayed on it. So we can say that almost anything harms adolescents nowadays.
And the definition of social media is any website and application that enables users to create and share content or to participate in social networking, which is what television does.
They are not actually participating because television is a one-way content, social networking is two-way.
As previously said,
That is time, sorry. See, I love how we're getting into it already. So we're about to move in now. Both of our affirmative team and our negative team have laid out their cases. We're now about to move into the next stage of a debate tournament, which is the rebuttal phase. In a traditional debate tournament, a policy debate, there's actually another round of constructive speeches, but for the purpose of time and for this to be an educational experience, we have shortened the debate, so we're going to be moving right into our rebuttals. What happens during a rebuttal is that each team gets the chance to try to tear down the arguments that the other team has made and to reinforce why their arguments are right. So for everyone out there in the audience watching, you've seen that both sides have laid out some really compelling arguments for their side. Their job now is to keep talking about their evidence, talk about why all of us should be voting for their side and not for the other side. So we're going to start with the affirmative rebuttal, and they're going to have 4 minutes to lay out their case. Affirmative team, do you need any prep time before you begin?
No.
No? Okay, so now you've got 4 minutes whenever you are ready.
So you're saying that they're spending 20 hours looking at a TV screen, but on social media they're still going to be looking at screens just in a different concept. Social media itself can actually be isolating and not always making you feel more connected, because you can see what other people are doing, and some people feel left out due to that. 5% of the population using social media, you said that it made them feel less connected. Also on your issue that social media has helped raise awareness for things like LGBT, the internet has other sources and it's not just due to social media, so you can't really compare how the relationship is between that. You're talking about the content on TV. You can't control what other people post, so people are still being exposed to things like cyberbullying, which is also a big issue, and a lot of it happens over social media because it's connecting everybody together, and you can't take away what everybody else has seen to how you're affecting their lives. So our arguments for what the University of Maryland said is saying that 20% of users cannot last more than a few hours without going onto social media. That would be cutting into time of face-to-face communication a lot more, and it's taking away from it. All the time that's spent on social media is taking away from all the face-to-face communication that you can have, and you don't have those nonverbal communications, so you don't really know the context of what somebody is saying. With the 2012 Time magazine saying that it is harder for young adults to quit tweeting than consuming alcohol shows just how big of a problem that this is. It's dramatically cutting into how teenagers are communicating, and it's showing like how addicting that it can be to some people. The New York Times in 2014 said that the biggest issue among kids is loneliness, and that ties back into how they're looking for companions. And they're going to the internet, but it's taking away from their face-to-face communication skills, which is a different set. You can use so much only online, and you need a different set of skills in person. Forbes.com is saying that 7% of that communication is written or verbal. The other 93% is nonverbal body language. So it all ties back into that face-to-face communication and how it can differ from what you're saying and what you actually mean. Forbes also states that over half of U.S. employees feel more comfortable communicating via social media. So it's showing that it's not only affecting the younger adults, it's going all the way up to the older adults already, which is just going to take it away from how our society is building. So social media is really harming our social skills that are face-to-face. It may be connecting us to other people, but it's in a different way, and it's taking away from how we can interact and how we can portray what we truly mean. So it's switching what we mean without even twisting our words around.
Okay. Thank you, affirmative team. We will now have 2 minutes of cross-examination, so the negative team will get to ask affirmative team questions. Negative team, do you need any prep time before we start?
Seconds, please.
30 seconds. Sure. Okay, that is 30 seconds. So we'll now have 2 minutes of cross-examination. Negative team, whenever you are ready, you can start with your questions.
Okay. Can we really blame social media for some adolescents' poor etiquette online?
Also, is it social media's fault that we as a society have come to overuse it to the point where we are blaming our own creation?
We are not blaming social media for our faults in communication. We are simply stating the facts that have risen as a product of this nonverbal communication that you are losing key elements in your sentences, in your conversations with people.
Oh. Can you really blame social media for some adolescents' poor etiquette online?
Again, we are not blaming, but you must agree that when you are behind screen rather than face-to-face, it is much more easier to be a pure and untruthful person than it is face-to-face.
However, aren't we speaking on social media right now?
And what point are you trying to make?
That social media does not necessarily take away that face-to-face conversation when you have websites such as Skype that allow you to communicate through face-to-face interactions.
Not necessarily, because yes, this is face-to-face, but through Twitter, through Facebook, through Instagram, you are losing the face-to-face actual communication we're having right now. The only way you can get those emotions across is by possibly using emojis. And some phones don't even have emojis.
All right, that is time. Thank you. We are now going to be moving into our negative rebuttal speech. Negative team, do you need any prep time before your speech begins?
2 minutes. Do you need time?
Yeah.
Minute. 2. Just can we get 2 minutes?
2 minutes? As the negative team is using their prep time, I'm just going to be speaking to the audience a little bit for folks that are watching this debate. I'd really like you to consider the academic benefits of the activity that you're watching right now. Think about what you're seeing young people engage in here in terms of being able to create arguments, backing those arguments up with evidence, and then being able to understand counterclaims and respond on the spot to arguments that maybe you hadn't thought of. So we really think debate is a great thing, especially in this age of digital media, to connect young people across the state of California and across the country and the world. Also consider the positive peer interactions that you're seeing here, of learning how to see other people's arguments, respond to them respectfully, and take on a different perspective. So this is something that Urban Debate has been doing for a long time, and we're excited for all of you watching to get a taste of this and how digital media can be used as part of it. All right, that is 2 minutes of prep time. So now we're going to have our negative team give their rebuttal. And again, a rebuttal speech is meant to be a time for the negative team to lay out all the reasons why the other team's arguments are wrong and why all of your arguments are stronger. So negative team, you've got 4 minutes whenever you are ready.
It seems like common sense that parents should monitor their kids. Walter E. Washington said it's not the first to propose to parents to assess their child's activities on social networking sites and discuss removing inappropriate contact or connections with problematic people. A basic yet very effective solution to a problem. But some parents don't know about social networkings or how to use them. Well, in that case, we have to look at the bigger picture, not at social media as a creator of these issues, but revealing these problems as a bigger issue as a problem with communication between families. Having established a common understanding that there is a communication gap between parents and adolescents, social media is not the cause of this gap, as it conversely promotes social relationships between parents and their kids. You stated that social media makes adolescents feel disconnected and isolated from the real world. However, 28% said that social networking made them feel more outgoing versus 5% who said it made them feel less. You also said that it is a distraction to students in class. However, we're using this social media right now to talk about social media, which is ironic. And you also said that it could cause adolescents to lose sight of their personalities. Well, in an article, social networking helps students perform better. It says when kids feel connected and have a strong sense of belonging to the school community, they do better in school, which proves that they do better in school because of social media. You also said that social media, like Twitter, has distracted adolescents from their schoolwork. Well, even Twitter has taught everyone something about the value of concise and witty statements. Yeah. And others may blame that parents do not know what's going on do not know what adolescents are doing online. However, it is important that parents evaluate the sites on which their child wishes to participate, so you cannot blame the parents as well. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Now we'll have our last cross-examination, and the affirmative team will get the chance to ask the negative team questions. Affirmative team, do you need any prep time before you begin?
Yes, 2 minutes, please.
Sure. Okay, that is our 2 minutes. So we'll now have 2 minutes of cross-examination. The affirmative team, you could start with your questions whenever you are ready.
You argued that social media does not close the gap between parents. You argued that it actually closes that gap. But my question is, how can you argue that social media closes the gap between parents and teens when most teens do not have their parents listed as friends on their social media accounts?
Well, then, wouldn't it be the responsibility of the parents to build a better way of communicating with their children? In which case, wouldn't that leave the blame on the parents and not social media?
Do you talk to your parents on social media sites?
Because my mother does not know how to use social media, no, I do not. However, it is not social media's fault that parents lack the inability to navigate the internet.
Can you clarify your argument about how you're saying that there is that communication gap and parents don't know about social media about it, but parents need to know, so you can't blame them. You're saying that they need to find a better way to communicate with children.
Can you repeat that?
Can you clear up your argument on the communication gap between parents and how they're saying that parents don't know about it but need to know about it, and then you're saying that parents need to find better ways to communicate with their children, but you can't blame them for that?
Parents need to monitor what their kids are doing online. It's their job to know what their kids are doing online.
But if parents don't know about it, how are you putting that on the parents? And how could they control what their kids are doing on social media?
Then it is up to the parents to take responsibility to learn about social media and how to navigate it so they can later block inappropriate content or any other similar things to it to protect their children.
When parents do ask about your social media activity, do you answer truthfully and do you tell them everything you've been up to?
Personally.
That is time. That was a great question. So we'll pause there. Again, if this was a traditional debate round, it would be about double the time, and we'd have double the amount of speeches. But we're going to be shortening a little bit for today. So what we're going to do now is move into our closing speeches. The affirmative team and the negative team will both have the opportunity to give their closing argument. During that argument, no new evidence can be brought in. You can only use the evidence that's already been said. And your job is to explain to the audience the major points from this round and what you think are the most persuasive reasons that your side should win. Affirmative team, you do have 2 minutes left of prep time if you'd like to use it. Would you like to use your prep time?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Again, as the teams are prepping, I'll be speaking for a moment to the audience. Again, a lot of times we may not think about young people as being citizens. We think that citizenship starts when you turn 18 and can vote. But again, digital learning and digital media and the activities that students can do gives us a chance to think about young people as developing citizens who have opinions about the major social issues of the day. So as you can see, these young people here on both sides of the issue have done a great deal of research and are able to persuasively give arguments about issues that all of us might disagree about. I encourage anyone who's interested in trying this with their students to go online. There are many different types of debate and many different formats, so you can play around with times of how much time you'd like to give your students to give speeches and do cross-examinations. There's a lot of resources out there. And this can be a really fun way for students in your own classroom to connect with students from other classrooms about these kinds of issues. All right, that is 2 minutes, so we're going to ask our affirmative team for their closing statement, and you'll have up to 3 minutes to give your closing statement. So whenever you are ready, you can go ahead.
The society we live in is so filled with social media that we seem to be able to stop whatever we're doing. Homework, activities, even work for adults. We have become addicted to our social media sites that even the first Internet Addiction Disorder Center in China has been created in 2004. This is as serious as an alcoholic. As said in the previous speech, one of the biggest issues among these kids is loneliness. So where do they look for companions? The Internet? They know the internet inside and out, but nothing about human beings. We obviously have impaired social skills if there is an existence of a medical facilitation for the internet addicts. This is a serious problem, and how can we really oversee this? You think that you think maybe that we, including yourself, would be more through social media services. But as stated earlier, we get more socializing through direct body language. 7% actually come from written, 7% of actual communication and socializing comes from posts, tweets, whereas 93% of the actual communication and socializing comes from nonverbal cues. And I personally thought the connection between my followers and me were strong because some of them were my closest friends. But I had to personally connect with them through my classes, through my common hobbies, and now we're like family. But the ones that aren't, can I really consider my friend? My true friends are the ones that I interact in person. It's definitely the type of relationship I want, not through internet-based. And as we said before, it is hard to quit straight right off, and I can attest to that. As I have given up social media for Lent and have noticed that within the time I gave it up, I noticed that I have gone into the app not knowing and that I'm going against what I gave up. Noticing this, I seem to have more social activity with my friends than I did with the majority of my life ever since I joined social media. And parents are getting involved, but the children never want to tell their parents the truth. I know, I do it all the time. And although technology has made it possible today, the vast majority of students are not using face-to-face social media for academic purposes, such as we are doing right now. We can conclude that the social media is harming our social skills. Each of our sources prove how this destroys communication. You cannot argue that social media is helping communication when it is really pulling us away from each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, affirmative team. We're now going to have, I think, negative team. You've got 2 minutes of prep time left. Do you want to use that, or are you ready to go with your closing speech?
Can I get 30 seconds, please?
Sure.
All right.
All right, that is 30 seconds. You still have a minute and a half if you need it of prep time, or if you're ready, you're good to go.
We would like to.
It's fine.
We're good.
Thank you.
We would like to.
Okay, cool. So we've got 3 minutes. Whenever you are ready, we can get started.
Social media is a reflection of what already exists in the world. It is beneficial for developing and improving social growth in schools, homes, and businesses. It provides easy access to overseas communications, which can build long-distance relationships, business connection, and maintain existing relationships. Social media is also beneficial to classrooms because it can prepare students for college at an early age. Students can have more resources and life skills to succeed. The development of social skills expands adolescents' knowledge of active communication skills when dealing with peers and adults. It simplifies conversations between teachers and students. Teens use apps like Kik, Facebook, Instagram to collaborate on school assignments and set up appointments for gatherings. Teachers use Google Doc and Socrative.com to help plan and organize school lessons. Overall, it enhances students' engagement and promotes active learning environments while developing more efficient communication skills with adults. Claiming social skills as the cause of adolescent psychological issues, including depression, low self-esteem, we are choosing to let social media overweight the fact that such issues are only a reflection
of what already exists in the world, outside of the online community and not a product of social media. While we agree to a point, we cannot accept the overall conclusion that social media damages adolescents. One must not forget that it has privileged the American youth of today's society. It has given us the advantage of long-distance communication, keeping memorable moments alive and safe on sites, the chance to express ourselves freely, find and engage new relationships with people that have similar traits like one, access to online help such as tutorials, but most importantly, an admission to college websites for future lawyers, doctors, and perhaps presidents. In other words, guns don't kill people. The people pulling the trigger kill people. In this case, the people that are abusing the freedom of social media is what spoils and corrupts social networks. One must recall and remind themselves that social medias are only sites. It is us, the individuals, that give it either a power or purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we have both teams turn their mics on for a second? You can both turn your mics on because I want everybody to give everyone else a round of applause. So both teams. Thank you. Everybody was wonderful. I don't even have, usually what happens now in a debate round is that the judge gets a chance to talk about the powerful arguments they heard on both sides. And usually during a debate tournament, we don't tell you if you won or not, or which side won, and you find out later in the day. What's going to happen here is that we're actually going to put it to the audience. So the audience that's going to watch this debate on YouTube is going to give their feedback about which team they think would win. But in my opinion, both teams are winners. And I just want to review some of the great arguments that I heard both sides making. First, I wish you guys had even talked about this even more, but I like how both sides brought up this argument of, is social media a place where we can promote equity and where people can find other people like them to build solidarity and to find relationships? Or is it a place where that can be abused and cyberbullying could happen? I like how both sides talked about that. I would have liked to have heard even more about what do we do about cyberbullying versus how does social media give maybe students who don't have friends right around them can make friends in the social media world. Also, I liked how you guys debated about whether or not social media is a distraction, something that is for recreation that keeps students from doing more important things, or is it an educational tool? And how much should parents get involved in monitoring what their students are doing on social media? Both went back and forth on that. You both had sources to support you. I think that was a good argument. And then I think the argument that you both spent the most time on is this idea of, is it something that is taking away our ability to do face-to-face communication? Is it taking away the nonverbal communication? Or is it actually making us more outgoing and connecting with people more? I think that's the argument that you guys went back and forth on the most. You talked about loneliness versus being outgoing. Is Skype a way to get nonverbal communication back by being able to look at each other like we're doing right now? Or do we still lose something by not being face-to-face? These are all issues that adults are arguing about, and you've shown that young people are thinking about these issues too. And you're doing it in a really complex and really sophisticated way. So as I said, I think both teams did an amazing job. I think this is going to be something that people can continue to talk about. This link is going to be posted online for the public, and we encourage all of you students to tell your friends, tell your teachers, go online and add comments to the discussion so we can keep this discussion going. And before we leave, if I can just have Ms. Weber and Ms. Hicks, if you could just come up and give us a wave so that we can all say thank you to you for organizing this debate for your students, and we can give them a round of applause as well, even though you're all silenced. Excellent. We are very excited to be part of Digital Learning Day. We hope that this inspires people around the country and around the world to use digital media in their classrooms with all the young people that you work with. And we want to say thank you, and we hope that you've enjoyed it. So thank you, everyone.